it seemed like we were saying there that it was all going to go well for Brazil, and then that disastrous defeat. Would it have been better for them not to have, from a branding perspective, the World Cup at all?
Well, do you know, you've got to be really careful what you wish for on big sporting events. I mean, this has been a disaster for brand Brazil on a number of fronts. I mean, the reason why you do these kinds of events is obviously to get profile. You want to build recognition for your country. You want to use it as a platform for investment and tourism and everything else. The problem with Brazil, what people thought Brazil was like, was quite different from what they found out it to be.
This was supposed to be their moment in the sun, wasn't it?
It was, absolutely, a moment of glory, and also that this is a developed country,
Yeah.
this is a rich country, it's a sexy country.
And a footballing country, which was the sort of final myth.
Absolutely. Well, of course...
Myth being a big word.
I mean, frankly, even if the preparations weren't great, people thought at least Brazil can play football.
Yeah.
But it's not completely tarnished,
nightmare.
is it? I mean, OK, it's a disaster footballing terms. Look at the face. That says it all. It is.
Damage to a brand can live quite a long time, can it, in this case?
Well, of course, you're damaging your asset. That is the thing that's going to generate future revenues. The brand is the thing that lives on, and brand Brazil has been damaged. They need to repair. It is possible, of course, to repair a tarnished brand, but you've got to work really, really hard. And we might talk about some of the players in the World Cup as well, and what's happened to their reputation.
Yes, and it doesn't help also that a number of international business brands have decided to jump on Brazil's misery and sort of turn it to their advantage. I've seen some very amusing adverts on the internet.
This is good.
Visa saying that's German engineering, for example. We've got candy businesses jumping on the bandwagon. There's a media business in Germany called Bayern 3. It's got a very funny ad you can find on the internet. But, you know, this is cruel, isn't it? But do brands benefit from doing this?
It is cruel. I mean, actually, it's really interesting for brand Germany as well, because actually what this is fed is, of course, the German efficiency machine and a winning machine, but also, frankly, a bit ruthless as well. So actually it has played out
Is that double-edged for Germany?
Well, it is double-edged for Germany, except, of course, Germany has got the most, or the strongest, most valuable brands in Europe. So Germany's got about 11 brands in the top 100. France has got 7. Britain, I'm afraid, has got
Adidas
4.
One of those.
From a branding
Adidas
perspective,
indeed.
from a branding perspective, we've got Russia next holding the World Cup, right?
Yes.
So they had Sochi, which started off sort of, as you were saying, advertising all of the wrong things, human rights issues, infrastructure problems. Would you advise, if you were advising them, would you say, actually, maybe, the World Cup is not where you want to go right now?
What you'd advise anyone on brands is if you've got something to say and you've got great substance, go for it. The problem is that no great brand identity or advertising is going to make a bad or confused product any better. And the problem is, if you don't have a great product inside, like with Sochi and with Russia, lots of stuff came out about Russia that people weren't necessarily aware of. It shone a great big light on that brand, and if the stuff that lies beneath is not going to be stuff that you really want to get out, don't do it.
It did get better as the games went on, which is kind of
It did, but the sport was good. The sport was good, and also the participants were good and everything else, but not necessarily Russia as being the brand host.
Rita, the one thing that we just haven't touched on, let's just try and cover it, is about the individuals, the sporting icons that are on the field. Are these the moments in their career that define their earning revenue, like the Beckhams, like the Ronaldos, like the...
I brought my
Freddie
match attacks. We've got the Germans and the Argentines. I mean, this is where it gets defined,
I've got
right?
some of those.
My children trade the match attacks cards. And...
Indeed. Of course, it's people's moment in spotlight, but actually, even that, if you just take David Beckham, for example, do you remember when David Beckham was sent off in the World Cup?
Against Portugal.
Absolutely.
And cried a few times.
And he cried, and people hated him and everything else. He cut his hair, he went back to football, and then, of course, he renewed his brand.
But was he was a great product to start with, was he was a brilliant footballer?
He was a great footballer. He was a fit guy, a great footballer, and also, of course, the Golden Triangle, he's also a great family man as well. So what David Beckham did with himself and his product was great. The surround was also great too. Now, with Suarez, what's interesting there is how he can really repair his brand. Because it's not great to bite people, but if you apologise, if you come out and say you're working on your anger management or something like that,
biting rehab,
you can really, you can repair it.
Work on the rehabilitation angle.
You've got to work on the rehabilitation angle, and that will make him stronger as a brand.
How are we measuring brand buzz these days, then, Rita, in terms of this World Cup? It's got to be all about social media. I mean, what has that been telling us, this World Cup?
Well, I mean, it's been a relatively successful World Cup. Cup. I mean, though the football's been quite good, but there haven't been, apart from Suarez, of course, and apart from Brazil, those haven't really been great examples, have they, of sporting prowess, of, you know, of leading the world in reputation. So there have been, unfortunately, some dark moments that have made this an extremely high-profile World Cup, and also surrounded by the fact that it wasn't really particularly well organised in the first place. So I wouldn't say this is the very best example. You can look at some brilliant examples in sporting history, like, you know, Sydney was a great games, told a great story about Australia. London was a fantastic games, and also told a great story, a new story about
We're
London.
reaping those rewards, aren't we?
We are reaping the rewards in terms of tourism and in terms of investment and also in terms of global perception. That's how to do it. This isn't a great example, but they can repair, just like Mr. Suarez can repair his reputation, just like David Beckham.
Could you work on our brand?
Maybe he'll get in touch with you. Maybe Mr. Suarez will be in touch, Rita.
Maybe he will. I'll wait for the call.
Yeah,
I'm jumping the queue.
You do that. Rita, thank you very much. Rita Clifton, international branding expert at BrandCap.